Hey, what's up everybody? Clifton here, Clifton WP. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at the 5 new blocks that the Kadence team just released for Kadence Blocks and Kadence Blocks Pro. I'm talking about the advanced header block, which I believe is a game changer and it is the first of its kind. And then the navigation block and the navigation link block, and then 2 additional blocks, which are the site identity block and the Kadence search block. We're going to do a deep dive into each and every single one of these blocks, all of their settings, and we're even going to take a look at a few use cases for your website projects. So if you guys are ready to learn how to use the new advanced header block, the navigation link block, the site identity block, and the Kadence search block, then let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so here we are with a fresh install of WordPress. What you're looking at is the default 2024 theme. The first thing we're going to do is install the Kadence theme, and then we will install Kadence Blocks, which is the set of Gutenberg blocks created by Kadence for you to build out your pages. And both of these are free in the WordPress repository. To install these, we're going to navigate to the back end of the site. So just do that by hovering over the name in the admin toolbar, click on Dashboard, and then we're going to go to Appearance, Themes, and you're going to click on Add New Theme. We're going to do a search for Kadence. Here is the Kadence theme. Go ahead and click on Install and Activate. The theme is now activated. If we visit the front end of the website, you'll see now that the Kadence theme has now replaced the default WordPress 2024 theme. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the Kadence Blocks plugin. To do that, we're going to go back up here to the admin toolbar, click on Dashboard, go to Plugins, click on Add New Plugin, and here in the search bar, we're going to do a search for Kadence Blocks. Okay, and here are the Kadence Blocks plugin. We're going to go ahead and click on Install Now and Activate. Okay, so now we have everything that we need to be able to take a look at the new blocks that have been added to the Kadence Blocks suite. Okay, so let's go ahead and locate all 5 of the blocks that have been added to the Kadence Blocks plugin. To do that, I'm going to go over here to Pages, and I'm going to create a new page. And I'm going to title this page New Blocks. And I'm just going to set up the page so that we can properly explore these blocks inside of a page. Okay, so I'm going to move over here to the right, and I'm going to click on the page settings. I'm going to disable the page title, and then I'm going to set the page layout to normal so that everything is nice and centered in the middle. I'm going to set the style to be unboxed, and I'm going to set the content vertical spacing to disable. Now this of course is not necessary to take a look at the blocks. I just want to create a nice canvas for us to be able to see the blocks when we add them to the editor. Actually, let's leave the content vertical spacing on to give us a little bit of space here. Okay. All right, great. We're now ready to take a look at our blocks. To locate the 5 new blocks from Kadence, we're going to go ahead and click on the block inserter, which is this blue square with the plus sign here. If you click on that, you'll see all the blocks that are available to you to build out your page. Now, these blocks are broken up into several categories. So the first category of blocks that you'll see when you have Kadence Blocks installed is going to be the Kadence blocks, and you can tell them because they're blue and they're usually up here at the very top. But if you scroll down, you'll see that we also have text blocks, we have media blocks, design blocks, widget blocks, and theme blocks, and then lastly we have the embeds blocks as well. Now the reason I'm telling you this is because you may be looking at the blocks here and wondering where the new blocks are, and they're kind of spread out. So let me explain. The first 2 blocks that you'll notice that have been added to this section of blocks here is going to be the site identity block and the search block, or the Kadence search block from Kadence. These are 2 new blocks. The site identity block is a block that allows you to display your logo element inside of an advanced header or inside of a page. You don't need to have a header to be able to add this to your page. And then we also have the search block, which is a new block as well that allows you to have better search on your site. You can even search blog posts or content, and you can even search products or even search products only. We'll take a look at these settings here in a moment. But if you're looking at this, you may be wondering, well, where is the advanced header block? Where is the navigation block? Where is the navigation links block? Okay, so let's scroll down here. And where you want to go is you want to go to the theme section here. Under the theme section, you'll notice two new entries. So we now have the advanced header block in here under the theme category of blocks. And we have the navigation block, so the advanced navigation block. So that gives us two more additional blocks. So we have the header, navigation, we have our site identity, and our advanced search. That leaves one more block because I said there were 5. Well, the last block is the navigation link block, and that block is a contextual block. That block is actually only available when you have the navigation block active and you're going through the process of creating a custom navigation, which we'll do here. And at that moment, we will see that block. Okay. So now that we've located where all the blocks are in the block inserter, another way to be able to access these blocks is if you know the name of the block, you can come over here to the block inserter, click on the new block line, do a /, and if you start doing a search, for instance, for header, you will see the advanced header block. If you do a search for navigation, you will see the Kadence navigation block. And if you do a search for site identity or site, you'll see the site identity block for your logo and title for your site. And if you do a search for search, you will see the new search block as well. So these are all the different ways you can access these blocks within the page. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and walk through each of these blocks and walk through each of the settings for these blocks and also take a look at some use cases for each block. The first new block we're going to take a look at is going to be the advanced header block. So let's come over here to the new block line. I'm going to do a / and start typing the words header. And again, you can insert this from the block inserter, but this is just a lot faster. I'm going to select the advanced header block here from Kadence, and it's now going to walk me through the process of creating a new header. Okay, I'm going to click on create new header, and we're going to name our header here. Let's call it our custom header. And since we may be building multiples of these, let's go ahead and add a 1 to it here. For the header description, I'm going to go ahead and just use the header name as well. Then we're going to click on the next button here to get to the next part of the process. And over here, you're going to create your desktop layout. Now you have some options here. You can create one from scratch, or you can use one of these 7 presets where you'll have the elements already populated inside of the header as a starting point for you. On the second tab here, you have more presets, and these are multi-row presets, where if you have a header that you're designing and it looks more like these ones where it's going to have multiple rows with multiple elements, then you can go ahead and select one of these. For this particular part of the video, I'm actually going to do a blank desktop header so I can walk you through all the different settings first, and then we'll come back and we'll add one with one of these presets. Okay, so let's just click on create blank desktop header. The next part of the process is for you to go ahead and select your tablet/mobile layout. And again, you can see you have some presets here where you have some options or starting points for your responsive layout. Okay, so in this case, we're going to ignore these and we're just going to go ahead and create a blank one. So let's select this one. All right, and now we are ready to build out our header. Okay, so we have this nice introduction here. It's going to walk you through access to the documentation and all the options that are available for you to customize and extend the header. And let's just go through these. So we have introduction here. We have the opportunity to edit the appearance. And last but not least, you have the visual builder. So notice here on the bottom, the visual builder is already opened. I'm going to go ahead and click finish here. And if you take a look at this, you'll see that it looks identical to the actual header builder that's contained within the Kadence theme. But in this case, this is being built as a block. The first tab here is your desktop view. Second tab is going to be your tablet and mobile view. Okay, and then over here on the far right, you have the opportunity to move this to the top if you prefer to build it out this way. I prefer to build it on the bottom. That way I can see what I'm building in the editor area here. And then you can also hide the visual builder and then click this button to go ahead and open it. Similar to the theme-based header builder in the Kadence theme, the advanced header builder block also has these 3 rows that make up the header, and you can add the elements or the contents of your header to any one of these rows. Now, the main difference between the theme-based header builder and the Kadence theme and the advanced header block is that in the advanced header block, you can add Gutenberg blocks, and you can add any Gutenberg blocks to the header as content. Whereas in the theme-based header builder, you really can only add those select widgets that come implemented with the theme. So this allows for more extensibility and more flexibility in the build out and design of your header. To give you a good example, if we come over here to this middle row over here and I click on the plus sign, I can now choose to add, for instance, the site identity, which is going to pull in my logo and title for my website. You can see that up here. Okay. So if we select the settings for the site identity over here and we look over to the right, you can now see that we have a general tab, we have a style tab, and we have an advanced tab. Under the general tab, you can choose to show the site title or toggle it off. Okay. And you can also choose the toggle on and off the link settings or add a custom link URL. But already you can see now that the beginnings of the header have already started. Okay. Now, if you're wondering, how do I change my logo here? If we go over to the style tab, notice that there's nothing here. Go to the advanced tab. We have our usual padding and margin settings. And then under the advanced, you have your HTML anchor and your additional CSS fields. But if I wanted to change my logo, I simply need to just come here to the editor, click on the logo that's already there in place, and I'll see some additional settings. So the short menu over here will allow me to replace the logo. So I can click on replace, open up my media library, or just upload a new logo. Okay, if I have the logo selected, I have these drag icons. I can increase the size of my logo if I want it to be a little bit more prominent, or decrease it if I want as well. Over here on the right hand side is also the site logo settings, where you can make those changes as well, such as the image width and colors and use a site icon and so on. Okay, so all the settings are here and available for you, and you can make them right in the editor. The other thing that I also want to point out are the settings for the actual header row itself. So again, we have the top, middle, and bottom row. Each one of these have their own settings. So if you move over to the far left, you'll see a cogwheel. And if you click on that cogwheel, you will be able to access the settings for that particular row. In this case, the middle row. If we look over here to the right, you can see we have the general, style, and advanced tabs. Under the general tab, you have your layout configuration for this row. Right now, the layout configuration is as a header row. So that means that this is operating exactly as the theme-based header builder, with the exception of the ability to be able to add Gutenberg blocks in there. So that just means that it's broken up into these 3 sections. And in each section, you can have multiple Gutenberg blocks in each section, and then use a section to orient where it would be. So would it be on the far left, in the middle, or in the or on the right? Okay. The other option that you have is you can also choose to have this be a single container row. Now, if you select the single container row, then you really only have just this one row. And again, you can still add elements in here, but now you have a little bit more control and more flexibility over how the row itself operates. Let me tell you what I mean. I'm gonna set this back to header row as an example. So as a header row, and we're looking at these row settings, just to remind you. So you're clicked on this cogwheel for this actual row. So here, if you look at these settings, we have layout width, minimum height, item gap, and vertical alignment. Under the style tab, you have your background, right? And your border settings. And then under the advanced tab, you have your usual padding and margin, container width, custom CSS, conditional display, and advanced. But what if you wanted this row to have the same settings as a row layout, one row layout, and then you wanted to put your elements inside of that row layout? There may be certain reasons why you may want this. You may want the, for instance, the row overlay capability. So notice that here, there is no background overlay capability right now for this header row. Okay, so this is just an example use case. There are many others, but many other reasons why you may want to have this single layout. So let me show you what I mean. If I go to General, Layout Configuration, I've got the header row here. I'm going to turn this into a single container. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and just delete the site identity so we don't have that in there. Okay. So notice that now this is now a single container. I'm going to click on the plus sign, and this time I'm going to add a row layout. Okay. Now, so here's my row layout. I can choose how many columns that I want. In this case, I'm just going to select that I want one column. Okay. So now you notice that my column now spans the full width of that row, even though it shows it over here in this small block, but it's actually the full width right over here. Okay. But now I can go ahead and add my elements inside of this row and then have all the benefits of the settings of a row layout. I think this is very, very powerful. So that means that now if I go to the Style tab for this row layout, I now have access to the background overlay settings. In addition, I also have access to all the advanced settings. So that means all the structure settings that are usually available in that row. I have access to the visibility settings. I have access to conditional display. I have access to pretty much everything that has to do with that row. And I can also add my site identity in this row. So I can click on the plus sign here, select site identity, and now my site identity is inside of the row, and I can go ahead and configure it as usual, right? So you kind of have all these benefits that are assigned here. Now, another reason why you might want to do this as well is, what if you wanted to stack things vertically inside of the row, right? So normally your header row is set up in such a way that everything is stacked in line or stacked horizontally. But what if you want to stack it vertically, but it's contained inside of the same row? Well, this might be another example of why you may want to do it in this fashion. If we open this up in list view, for instance, you can see the entire structure of your header. And this is the row layout over here. Here's our section. If you select a section, you have all those directional settings set up in the section as well. And it's now inside of your advanced header block. Okay, so here's our site identity. But what if I want a small piece of text underneath there? Well, I can go ahead and click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, and there's a new block line for me over there. Do a /, and at this time I'm going to type text, and we will select the text block from Kadence, and let's just call this, I'll just call this tagline, or we can just call this let's just say awesome header text. And I'm going to go ahead and set this to be, change it from an H2, and let's just make it a span. Okay. So here's our awesome header text, and now I have all the settings available to me for this text, typography, everything that I need, right? So I'm building out a header, right, inside of a row layout, okay? And I'm stacking it the way that I want to stack it. So ultimate control. And that's just one of the use cases of having it be a single container like this. And you can switch back and forth between the two. It's entirely up to you. But already you can see the power of having a very flexible and extendable advanced header block, and all the things that you can do. You can pretty much build out any kind of header that you want. Okay, so let's go back to those settings again, and let's just cover the rest of the settings. So I'm going to click here on the cogwheel for the main middle row here, and just so you know, the settings are the same. So if you go to any of the other rows, if you're using any of the other rows, you also have settings for those rows as well, similar to what you have for this row. Okay, so we looked at the layout configuration. We've played with the header row itself. We've played with the single container. Now you also have the layout width. So you have your standard, you have your full width, and you also have your contained. Okay, and then you can set a minimum height, an item gap, and the vertical alignment of the contents of your header. Under the Style tab, you can set your background settings. So you can have a traditional color or gradient. You can have a background color, and you can have a background image for your header. And then there are also border settings. And then under the advanced, you have your padding and margin, container width, and your custom CSS. And then there's also the advanced tab here where you can go ahead and add CSS classes for that particular row. Okay, so now that concludes the walkthrough of all the advanced header block settings. What we're going to do now is to go ahead and create an actual header from the advanced header block, and in that process we'll also be able to explore the navigation block and the navigation link block as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First, what I'd like to do is go ahead and reset this advanced header block that we've been working on, so that we're starting from a fresh canvas. So to do that, I'm going to make sure that I have the settings selected for this middle row. Move over here to the right, and I'm going to go to the general settings, and the first thing that I want to change is the layout configuration. So we're going to set that back to header row, which is the default configuration. Okay, and now that I have done that, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete the row layout that I added in here. So that's also going to delete the site identity block contained inside of that row layout. To do that, you can just go ahead and click on the X over here, or you can open up the list view and open up the middle row, open up the left section, and you'll see that row layout over here. Click on the vertical ellipsis, click on delete. That will delete it as well. It's kind of a long way to be able to do that. So let's just go ahead and delete it over here. So I'm going to click on the X. It's going to ask me to confirm that I want to remove this block from the header. The answer is yes. Go ahead and click and confirm, and now we have a fresh header to be able to work with. Okay, so let's go ahead and build out a traditional header, which means it's just going to have a logo, the navigation, and also a call to action. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. So I'm going to go ahead and build everything here in the middle row, and I'm going to click on the plus sign here. And then from here, we're going to select the site identity. The site identity block is the new block from Kadence Blocks, and it will automatically pull your logo if you already have it uploaded. If not, it will give you an opportunity to upload it. With the site identity selected, I'm going to move over here to the right, and I'm going to toggle off show site title. That way I only have my logo visible. Next, what I want to do is I want to be able to see the header itself in the editor. So the best way to do that is to add a background color to it. So I'm going to come over here to the main row, click on the cogwheel for the settings, move over to the right. I'm going to go to the style settings, and for the background color, I'm just going to add a light background color so we can see what we're building. Let's make that a little bit darker. There we go. Okay, so now we can see the actual header container here. Okay. All right, next what we're going to do is let's go ahead and add a call to action. That's going to be on the far right over here. So I'm going to click on the plus sign in the far right column here. And from here, we're going to search for the button block from Kadence. So just search for buttons. You can see the button block here. Let's go ahead and click on it. And now we've added a button. I'm going to go ahead and we'll say call us now. Okay, and we can go ahead and style this a little bit. So I'll move over here to the right, and what I want to do is click on the style tab. I'm going to go to typography settings, and I want that text to be a little bit smaller. So let's see, add a small text. That looks great. And then I'm going to make it all uppercase so it's more prominent. Okay, and then the next thing that I want to do is I also want it to be bolded, the text at least. So I'm going to come over here to font weight, click on the drop down, and let's see what it looks like as a semi-bold. All right, that looks a lot better. Okay, so now we have our call to action, we have our logo. Next, what we're going to add is our navigation, and this will give us an opportunity to get an introduction to the navigation block as well as the navigation link block. To add our navigation, we're going to go right to the center of the middle row here. We're going to click on this plus sign, and you can do a search for navigation, or we already have done the search before, so it recognizes that the navigation link block was used before. We can just go ahead and select it from the menu here. Now, once you select the navigation link block, it's going to walk you through creating a navigation from scratch or selecting a previously created navigation. Now, I want to take a moment to go ahead and make a distinction here. There is a difference between the navigation link block and the WordPress navigation menus that you create in the admin dashboard. Okay, in this case, the navigation link block will allow you to create a brand new navigation, and you can use existing pages and posts and categories in that navigation as well. Okay, if you already have a navigation, so we don't have a navigation in this site here, just a fresh new site. We don't have navigation. So if you already have a navigation, you would actually see it here, and you would need to import that navigation in here. And there's a process for doing that. But this is probably one of the most powerful parts of the navigation block from Kadence, because essentially what this will allow you to do is create a navigation on the fly without having to navigate to the WordPress menu navigation system to create your navigation. Okay, so let me demonstrate exactly what I mean. So we've added the navigation block to the middle row here, and now it's going to walk us through creating our navigation. So from here, I'm going to click on Create New. Now we are in the navigation builder from the new navigation block from Kadence. So in the builder, you'll have your desktop orientation, and you have the choice between vertical and horizontal. You also have your tablet orientation, and there's still a choice between vertical and horizontal. Now, the reason you have a vertical choice is you may be building a navigation that's going to be going in a mega menu. The mega menu feature is a pro feature for the navigation block. So if you're using the free version of Kadence, you're not going to have access to that mega menu feature. But in the pro version, you do have access to the mega menu feature, and that's why we have this vertical orientation. You can also use the vertical orientation in a lot of other creative ways, but we'll talk about that in a different tutorial. But you can also see here you have your posts. Now we don't have any posts, but if we did, they'd be listed here. And then pages, any existing pages on the site would also be listed here, and these can be added to the menu. Okay. In the navigation builder, we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to go ahead and name our menu. And for this one, we'll just call it our custom navigation menu. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and start adding links to the menu. Now, because we don't have any posts or pages, we're just going to add custom links. So go ahead and click on the custom link button here, and it's going to add our first link. And let's just name this one home. And for our URL, we're just going to use a null URL. Just put a hashtag in there. And so here now you can see you have a label for the link. You also have a area for you to place the URL for the link. And then there's some additional options too. You can add a submenu link here. So if I click on this, it'll give me a submenu link. As you can see, that's indented here, indicating that it's a submenu. And then you can go ahead and name that. And you can continue on if you want to. Now in this case, we're not going to be having any submenus, so let's go ahead and delete that. Okay, so we have the home one here. I'm going to go ahead and click on custom link again, and we're going to add an about. Let's also add a services, and then let's add a blog link. I'll delete the submenu here. Created that by accident. And let's add one more link. Let's just add a contact. Okay, so what you've just watched me demonstrate here is me adding navigation links. It's not the same thing as adding navigation pages. These are just custom links. So most of you are probably familiar with this already. Okay, I've also just demonstrated the navigation link block. So these right here that you see are the navigation link block. And this is what I meant by it being a contextual block. It'll make more sense once we add this into the header here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're done adding our links. Let's go ahead and click on done editing. That's going to take us back to our advanced header block. And now we can see that our links are now in place. Okay. All right. So at this point, let's take a look at how this looks in list view. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on the list view icon here, or the document overview icon here. And here we can see all of our blocks and the entire layout. Okay. So over here we have in the center, right? We have our navigation. If I open this up, you can see here under the navigation block, we have the nav link blocks. Now, why am I calling them nav link blocks instead of just links? That is because the navigation block is more like a container. So if you select this block here, if you look over to the right, you have settings for the navigation itself, right? You can select the navigation you've created. You can create a new navigation, right? You can open up the navigation builder in case you need to make some changes again. You can change the orientation, spacing, both horizontal and vertical. And then you have layout options as well. You have a choice between standard, stretch, and grid. And then you can make the parent of the current menu item active. Then there's also styles for your navigation container, right? So you can choose between standard, full height, underline, or full height, underline, right? You have navigation item styles in the container. You also have divider settings if you want to add a divider, topography settings, submenu styles, and description styles, okay? Now, if we look on the advanced, as expected, you have your padding and your margin. You have your nav link padding and your nav link margins. Okay, so what we just covered is the navigation blocks settings. Okay, now if we select one of the items, so let's just select this home link. Okay, when you select that home link, if you look over to the right, it also has its own settings. Okay, so there's a general tab, a style tab, and an advanced tab. So here you can add a label or change the label. You can choose to hide the label if you want to, or reveal it. You have an area to add in or change the URL. You can disable the link for this. Now, if you're using the Pro version, you'll have access to the mega menu. If you're using the free version, you will not have access to this. Okay, and then you can add a description in here, right? So you can say this is the home link. Okay, so now you can add descriptions and create nav menus that have descriptions in them very easily. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that. You have your title attribute and your rel attribute. Then we have the styling. So you can style the individual links, the color, the background, borders, border radius, typography settings, highlight the label, media, and description styles for each individual link. And then in your advanced, you have your padding and margin, and your advanced where you can add additional CSS classes or ID classes to this. Okay, so each individual link is essentially its own block. This is what we mean when we say this is the nav link block. So you have the navigation block, and then you have the nav link block, and each one has the flexibility for you to style it independently, which is very, very powerful. Okay, so now we have a good understanding of the navigation block, and you can see how powerful this is. But let me show you some additional items or some additional things about this block. Okay, so if you select the navigation block itself, okay, notice that there is a menu here for that navigation block, this short menu. And in here, you have some options. The plus sign over here allows you to add a navigation link. Now, if you select an individual link, you also have some additional options here, right? So you have the option of creating a submenu, mega menu if you're using the Pro version, okay? And there's also an ability here to add a navigation link right next to it, okay? So there's even more settings in addition to the settings on the right-hand side over here. Okay, so let me go back to the navigation container itself. So now that I've selected this, if I click on the plus sign over here, add navigation link, what's going to happen is it's going to add a link right after the last link that's in here. And it'll give you a choice to search or type a URL. So you can search for a page that already exists on your site, or you can type in a URL if you want. You can also see the settings over here, right? So you have fresh new settings. So from here, I can actually go ahead and label this. So let's say I labeled this as resources. Okay. All right, and let's also add a URL of hash. Okay, so now we have the resources link. Okay, now let's do that again. I'm going to select the navigation link here, and I'm going to click on the plus sign. It's going to add a new link right at the end here. And you see here where it says search or type a URL. Okay, what if I just want to add a page here that actually doesn't exist on my site? So let's say I don't have a page called, let's call it membership. When you type in a page that doesn't exist, it's going to ask you, do you want to create a draft page for membership? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. So let's click on that. And what's happened now is it's actually created this page for me, this membership page. Okay, it's already got the title, it's got a link to the draft page, and it has set it to draft and then indicated it in the navigation so that you are aware. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and save this as is. Okay, and I'm going to see if it actually really created a draft page for me. Okay, so I'm going to move over here to the left. We're going to open this up in a new tab. And when we go to the new tab, you can see here the membership has already been created as a draft. Now my new blocks is still as a draft, but it still created a new page for me as a draft. And now I can go into this page and make any changes that I want to that. Okay, very, very powerful, very, very strong feature for that navigation link and also the navigation block. Okay, now the same thing would happen if I, let's say I went to services, selected the services link here, click on the plus sign, it's going to add that link right after the services one, and it will still do the same thing. So if I wanted to say, just for the sake of it, let's call this login. Okay, so it's still going to give me the option to be able to create that page. Okay, now I don't want to do that, so I'm going to select the link here and I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Okay, so now you can see there's a couple of really good features here. One is the builder itself. If you select the nav link over here, we go over here and you can open up the navigation builder. So this is also amazing, right? So all of our links are right over here. Okay. And then the other one is the ability to add pages in draft mode within your navigation on the fly. Okay. Saving you a lot of time. All right. And then of course, being able to build out the navigation in this way in the advanced header block, not utilizing the theme facilities, is also very powerful as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete this membership draft link here. So I'm just going to select it and just click on delete and remove it. All right, so now we've built out our header, and we've also had the opportunity to walk through the navigation block settings and also take a peek at the navigation link block. Now, if we look at some of these settings, can we actually make this look a little bit better here? The answer is yes. I can actually add some horizontal item spacing. Let's go with 2rem. All right. And so now we have our custom header, and then we can also style this a little bit more. So let's go ahead and click here on the cogwheel for that main row. Move over here to the general tab. Under the general tab, I'm going to say that I want this to have a minimum height of, let's say, 80 pixels. That might be too much. Let's make it 60 pixels. Okay, so now we have some breathing room around the elements in here. Okay, okay, this looks great. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Okay, and so we've now just built a very simple header. So how do we apply this header to the actual site, right? Because if we go out of this and go to the front end of the website, we still have the default header. We don't have our actual header that's been applied here. So how do we actually add that? Okay, to be able to do that is very, very simple. We're just going to go to the customizer, and you're going to go to header, and then under the header here, we're going to enable block header. So you see this toggle here. This is a new addition. So we're going to enable the block header, and then you get to select the header that you just created. So this is our custom header here. All right, and then it's going to apply that header directly to the site. Click on publish, and now you have your header in place. Some additional things to also consider is if we go back, let's go back to the dashboard. Let's go to our pages here, and let's go back to this new blocks draft here. I'm going to click on edit. Okay, so we see our header here. If you open this up in list view and you select the header, okay, over here on the right, you still have styles that apply to the overall header, even though we just built this in the main row, but there are styles that apply to the overall header. Okay, so from here, I can actually create a new header if I want to. I can make this a sticky header. So I can say, yes, this is a sticky header. And then I'll have the additional options here, whether I want it to be the whole header, the main row, the top row, bottom row, and the other combinations. You can also do a reveal on scroll up and shrink the middle row. You can also choose to make this a transparent header as well. Okay, so any of the applications that you choose here, or any of the settings that you choose here, will be reflected on the front end. For instance, we've set it to be a sticky header and a transparent header at the same time. Now we don't have much content on the site, so let me go ahead and save this. Okay, let's go ahead and publish it. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this, and let's view the page here. Okay, so you can see now that it's a transparent header. If we go to the home page, you can see that it's now the transparent header as the background has now disappeared. And if we had more content, this would be sticky. And we're going to demonstrate that a little bit later. But it's just important for you to recognize that this is a fully featured header, even though you're using the header block versus using the theme-based header builder. You actually have more extensibility with the advanced header block than you do with the the one that comes in the theme. Another thing that I also want to point out as well is if we go back to the dashboard and you go to the Kadence menu over here, we have our headers actually stored under this menu. So any headers that you create will be stored here, even though you created it in a page. You can also create headers directly here as well, and have as many custom headers as you want. The same thing for your navigation. So remember that navigation we created while we were in the new blocks draft page? Well, it's stored over here as well as a custom post type. So you can come here and make changes to it. You can get rid of it, or you can even duplicate it. And you can create additional Kadence navigations for various uses and various reasons on your website. So this is actually quite a powerful development. It should definitely take your website building with Kadence and the Kadence suite of tools to another level. And I particularly am very excited about it. Okay. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to showcase some of the pro features of these blocks, of the advanced header and advanced navigation blocks. So that's going to include things like your mega menus and how to create mega menus. And then I also want to showcase some of the presets, some of the preset headers that already have elements in them so that you can see what those look like as well. To better showcase the features of the advanced header block and the navigation block, let's go ahead and add a little bit of content to this site. To do that, I'm going to go to New Page, and we will call this our home page. And then over here under the page settings, I'm going to disable the page title. I'm going to set the page layout to full width. The content style will be unboxed, and the content vertical spacing will be disabled. The other thing that I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a page here. And to do that, we can actually pull in a page from the design library. So I'm going to come over here, click on the design library, and let's go to pages, and let's find a home page that we can utilize. All right, so let's see one that actually looks, this one looks great. Let's go ahead and select this one. All right, so now we have a home page that we can work with. Let's go ahead and publish this. Next, I'm going to navigate back to the dashboard, go to settings, go to reading, and here where it says your home page displays, I'm going to select a static page, and we're going to select for the home page, the home page that we just created. Save changes. And now when we visit the front end of the website, we can see the home page with the custom header that we initially built. And remember that I had this set to be a sticky header, right? So we can see here that it is a sticky header. Okay. All right, this looks great. Next, what we're going to do is we're now going to take a look at some header presets. So we're going to create multiple headers, and this time we're just going to select the presets that are available within the advanced header block. But before we do that, let's go ahead and add some menus as well, right? So we don't have any menus on this website. If you go to the menu system here, so if you just hover over the name in the admin toolbar, click on menus. If we come over here, we haven't created any menus for this site because it doesn't really have any content. So let's just create a menu. We'll just call this our primary navigation. We'll select primary here and click on create menu. All right. We still don't have any pages or posts, but that's fine. We're just going to use custom links just for the sake of this here. So I'm just going to come over here, do a hashtag, and I will say home, add to menu. And let's create a couple more. Okay, I just wanted us to have something because I'm going to be demonstrating what happens when you have an existing menu in a WordPress install and you're going to use it with the advanced navigation block from Kadence. Let's go ahead and save that menu. All right, and now we're ready to take a look at our presets. So if you guys remember, when we created this header here, okay, we did that inside of a page. So we accessed the page, all pages here. We did it inside this new blocks page. Okay, so here's the header that we created. Okay, so this isn't necessary for you to do. You don't always have to do it inside of a page. Now, if you're building out a landing page for some reason, and this is going to only be on this page, this may be a use case where you do it this way. I was just doing it this way so that we could also showcase the other blocks as well. And I could also showcase that the advanced header block did exist inside of the block inserter. Okay. Now, typically, if you want to create a custom header for your site, a good way to be able to do that is just navigate to the dashboard, go over to Kadence, and then under here, you're going to select headers. Okay, so if we select headers, we can see our custom header that we created initially. Now we can click on Add New Kadence Header. And now we are going to go through the process of naming our header and selecting our desktop and mobile layouts. So we'll call this one our custom header from presets. Okay, and let's also add a description. Click on next, and in this case we can select one of the basic ones here. Okay, this is totally fine, or you can select one from multi-row. Let's do both. So I'm going to start with the basic one, and let's pick one that looks a little bit more complex. So here's one right here. Actually, let's pick this one. Let's pick this one with the toggle here, or this one. Let's pick this one with the toggle. So basic 4. I'm going to select this one, and then for the tablet/mobile layout, let's just pick this first one here. Okay. All right. So now we have our header in place, and this is from the preset. So this is a toggle, which is going to open up an off-canvas menu, our menu, and then we have our navigation. Okay. And even though you're starting from preset, you can actually customize this even further. Okay, so to do that, let's take a look at what this actually looks like in list view. So I'm going to click on the list view icon here. I'm going to select the header, and immediately you can see over here we now have access to the visual builder. Okay, but I want to open up everything so that I can see everything that I'm working with. All right, so I can see that I have a header desktop. Here's the mobile, and then we now have this off canvas. So we haven't taken a look at this yet, but essentially this off canvas block is going to allow you to basically add things behind this toggle. Okay, so right now the navigation is behind it currently. So let's go ahead and open up the visual builder so we can see this laid out in the actual builder itself. So we have our off canvas trigger. We have our site identity, and we have our navigation. Now, one thing I'd like to do is I like to rearrange this right now. So I'm going to move my site identity over to the left. I'm going to move the off canvas trigger all the way to the right, and we're going to leave the navigation here in the middle. Okay. All right. Now, this is a placeholder navigation. Notice that if I click to edit this, it immediately asks me to go ahead and make a selection. Now, when I click here and I open up the selection, you will now see the Kadence navigations, right? So this is the one we created with Kadence Blocks. And then we have the WordPress navigation. So this one is also available to you. You can import this into a Kadence navigation. And the way to do that is just go ahead and select it. Click on import. And now it has imported that navigation that we created in that earlier step. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that I am done editing, and now I have that navigation available to me as a Kadence navigation block, meaning I now have all the settings and all the opportunities that are available to customize and extend this navigation. Okay, all right, now let's talk about this off canvas trigger. Okay, so what the off canvas trigger does is, if you look over here now, once you have the off canvas trigger inside of your row over here, you can then select it, and there's now a space for you to go ahead and add content inside of the off canvas trigger. So you would be adding that content right over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some navigation. So we will say, let's just use our custom navigation here and select. Okay, so here's our navigation, and you can add additional blocks as well. The way to add additional blocks is to come down here to the visual builder, and you'll see a link that says add block. If you click on this, you will see all the blocks that are available here. And if you want to see all of them, just click on browse all, and now you have more blocks. Okay. If this is obscuring your view, so you see here we have this short menu, it's kind of obscuring the view. That's okay. We can take care of that. Just go ahead and move over here to the right. Look for the vertical ellipsis at the far right corner. Click on it, and we're going to say we want to move that menu bar, that short menu, to the toolbar. So just go ahead and click on it, and now it's here in the toolbar, and now we can fully see our off canvas menu. And this also works well for any other blocks where that short menu may be obscuring. But just remember to look up here for the short menus now when you do that, when you have that setting. Okay, let's go ahead and close that out. All right, so now we have some navigation. What if we want to have more blocks? What if we want a button in here? I can go ahead and click on Add Block, and let's do a search for button. We'll add this button. So here's our button over here, and let's say we could say, well, we say Get Estimate, and then you have all the styling opportunities here on the right. All the settings are over here, so I can go ahead and say make this full width, and I can come over here, Style, go to my typography settings, make everything uppercase, choose a smaller font size if I want, and I can also add a little bit of spacing here in the button. So go to Advanced, top margin, create some space there. Okay, and you can add anything you want here. Any blocks you want can go in the off canvas toggle over here. Okay, now once we're done, we can then shift back to desktop and continue to make any changes that we want. Okay, so once you're using a preset, you can also customize that preset to make it look any way that you want. I can go ahead and click on the settings here and the main middle row here, and then I'm going to go to Style, and let's just add a little background so we can see what we are doing. There it is. Okay, so this is our header with that preset. Okay, all right, so next what we're going to take a look at are the actual settings of the off canvas trigger. We actually saw how to place items inside of it, so I'm talking about this here. Let's take a look at the settings. So if I click on the settings cogwheel for the off canvas trigger, okay, once you click on that, you will see the settings over here. We have the type of icon. So from here, you can choose a different icon if you want for the trigger. All right, the icon size, the icon line width, and then you can add a button label attribute for accessibility. There's also styling. And then we also have the advanced, where you can control the padding and the margin, and also apply a CSS class to it as well. Okay. Now, if you click on the actual off canvas trigger link here in the visual builder, okay, so when you click on that, you now have access to the actual canvas itself. So that's this area right here that now contains the blocks. And if you look over to the right, you will see that there is even more settings as well, right? So there are settings hidden inside of settings, but we're covering them all. Okay, so here under the General tab, you can choose to show the off-canvas content in the editor when not selected. You can show or hide. Okay, so I can hide it or show it. And then the display settings here, you can slide in the canvas from the left, or you can choose to do it from the right over here, kind of like you do sometimes with the pop-out card. Okay. Then you can choose the content width. So right now it's partial, so it's just taking up a portion of the screen, or you can have it be full where it takes up the entire screen. Then you can also choose the max width. Currently it's at 400. You can increase this, and then the content max width as well. Then you also have your content alignment here, where the alignment is to the left. You can center everything kind of like that, or you can move everything to the right. I kind of like it centered. It looks well organized here. And then the content vertical alignment, and then your close trigger settings. So we can change the icon for the close trigger here, and then the icon line width, the icon size, and again, the button label attribute for accessibility. If we go to the styling, you can control the background colors, the page background, so this here, right here, the border radius, and your close trigger styles also here. And then under the advanced, you have your padding, your close trigger spacing, padding, and margin, and then the ability to be able to add CSS classes, okay, to the off-canvas trigger. All right, let's go ahead and close out of this. Let's go ahead and select our desktop mode. One thing we haven't taken a look at is the tablet and mobile mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and select that tab here in the Visual Builder. And now you are in the tablet mode. So this is what it would look like. So remember, we selected this particular preset. But just because you selected this doesn't mean you cannot edit it. You can also edit this as well. So if I want to move my off-canvas trigger to be below my logo, I can absolutely do that. And I can select the off-canvas trigger, move over here to advanced, and I can add some spacing. So all the changes you're making here will only apply to the mobile version. Okay, if I no longer want it to be this way, I can go ahead and reset it and place it back where it was. Okay. If I want to add additional blocks, I can click on the plus sign here in the main row for the tablet and mobile view, and I can choose to have a button, call to action, and from here I can say get estimate. Come here and style this, typography settings, set it to be uppercase, have a small font size for it, and this is already set and ready to go. Okay. And if you want to see it even smaller, let's go ahead and click on the mobile icon here, and you can see how that looks. So if you're not happy with this, then this is one of those opportunities where you might decide to choose to utilize a row layout instead, especially if you're trying to line it up this way. Or you can choose to move your button down here instead. But just keep in mind, this is mobile. This is tablet/mobile. So if I look at it on a tablet, it's going to replicate that as well. So this is one of those instances where if you're insistent on having, for instance, you may be insistent on having in tablet view, having a button here, having your toggle here, but you may not be happy with it when you actually look at it on a mobile phone. So you might not like the way that looks. Okay. So this is one of those times where you might say to yourself, okay, it might be better if this area right here for tablet mobile is not controlled by the header row format, but rather by the single row format. So let's take a look at utilizing that instead. Okay, so to achieve the mobile view that we want, please remember that, again, this is only applying to the tablet mobile view. Okay, desktop view is totally fine. On tablet, it actually looks great, but the issue we're having here is in the mobile view. Okay, so we're going to solve this issue right now. Okay, so the solution, in order for us to have a good mobile responsive header for our tablet view and also a good mobile responsive header for our mobile view, is we're going to have to create a separate view for the mobile devices, which are going to be your cell phones, from the tablet view. Okay, so if we look at this in the tablet view, it actually looks great. In the mobile view, it looks a little bit squished. So we're going to have to separate these. Now, one of the ways we can do it is we could just rebuild everything in a single container. But instead of doing that, the good news is that the advanced header block allows you to contain any block. Right, so one of the blocks that it can contain is a row block, and the row block does come with a unique set of settings that are more applicable towards separating views from tablet and mobile and desktop. So we're going to leverage that in this advanced header block. So let's go ahead and do that right now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move the elements out of this middle row. So let's move the trigger. We're going to move the site identity and the buttons to the top row. And we're only doing this temporarily so that I can go ahead and add some blocks to the middle row here, which I still want to use. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the plus sign here right in the center, and I'm going to add a row layout. This row layout is going to be my parent container for all my mobile views, both for the tablet view and also for the mobile view, which is the view that you get when you're looking at it on a cell phone. This parent container is going to have only one row, so let's go ahead and select one row here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up in list view so that I can relabel this row and, you know, carefully label everything so I can keep track. So I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, and we're going to rename this row, and we're going to call it our parent mobile header container row. All right. Now the first one that I want to create is I want to create the one for the tablet. So I'm going to move over here to the right hand side, and I'm going to select the tablet view here. So just make sure you have this icon selected. Okay. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and add a new row just for my tablet view. So I'm going to click on the plus sign inside of the parent mobile header container row that we just created. I'm going to click on the plus sign there and add a new row layout. And this row layout is going to have 3 columns. All right, so we can see that row layout here in list view, and I'm immediately going to go ahead and label it so I can keep track. So we're going to go ahead and rename this row layout, and we're going to label this one tablet mobile header. So tablet mobile header row, let's go ahead and save that. Okay, great. Next, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make sure that all the settings in terms of the padding and margin all make sense. So let's quickly go back to the parent mobile header here. One thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this spans the full width of the container here. So I'm going to go ahead and here in the short menu, click on the alignment, and we're going to set this to full width. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do for the parent mobile header container row is I'm going to move over here to the right, and under the advanced settings for that row, I'm going to make sure that I zero out all the padding. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat the same process for the tablet mobile header. Just go ahead and select it. The only thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to make the alignment full width. I'm just going to keep the alignment the way that it is. Move over here to the right, go to advanced, and we're going to go ahead and zero out the padding initially. And then let's go ahead and just add a little bit of padding. So maybe an extra small is enough. Okay, awesome. So now everything's ready for us to go ahead and add our elements back in. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and add each of the elements. So the off-canvas trigger, the logo, and the button into each of the columns that you see over here. But I'm going to do it in list view because it's just a lot easier for us to move them in there. Okay, so I'm going to open up the tablet mobile header so I can see all of the sections. And then I'm going to click on the off-canvas trigger. That's going to identify it for me here in list view. And then from list view, I'm going to go ahead and drag it over to the first section here in the tablet mobile header. Just go ahead and drop it in there. Okay, so now we can see it here. Then I'm going to repeat the process for the logo and the button. So clicking on the logo here, select the site identity, go ahead and drag it down to that second section and drop it in. Then let's repeat that for the button. Make sure you're grabbing the button block and drag it down into that section. Okay, so now everything is now inside of the tablet mobile header row. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that everything is aligned correctly. Starting with the tablet mobile header row, I'm going to go ahead and select it, move up here to the short menu, click on the vertical alignment, and make sure that everything's aligned to the middle. Next, I'm also going to make sure that the sections are aligning the elements that they contain correctly. So for instance, this off-canvas trigger needs to be aligned further to the left. So I'm going to select the section that contains that trigger, move over here to the right under the general settings, under alignment, and I'm going to set that alignment to the left. Okay, next I'm going to move over to the site identity, make sure that I have that section selected, move over here to the right, and I'm going to align that to the center. Okay, and then finally I'm going to select the section that contains the buttons, move over here to the right, and make sure that I align that all the way to the right. Okay. Okay, so far this seems to be working out very well. Now that I have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and check it out on the front end just to make sure that everything is operating correctly. So let's go ahead and just save that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in a new tab. Let's go to that new tab, take a look at it on the front end, and right now we can see our desktop view. Let's go ahead and hit right click. Click on Inspect for the Chrome Developer Tool. And then let's go ahead and set this to our iPad mini, which is our tablet. And we can see here that we have a nice header for our tablet view. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Nice spacing and everything is exactly where we want it. Okay, now if we take a look at this on the cell phone view, so let's look at the iPhone 12 Pro, then we can see here that we have some misalignments going on, and that's fine. We're going to go ahead and fix this. So for this layout, what we want is we want the logo to be on the left, we want the off-canvas trigger to be on the right, and then we want the button to be in the middle. Okay, so that's what we're going to go ahead and create right now. So I'm going to go back to our editor here, and the first thing that we want to do here is we want to go ahead and select the tablet mobile header here. And what we're going to do is we're now going to create our mobile header row. Okay, to do that, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this row right here. So click on the vertical ellipsis, click on duplicate from the menu that shows up, and now we have a duplicate of the tablet mobile header. Now I'm immediately going to rename this. So click on the vertical ellipsis, select rename, and we're just going to call this one our mobile header row. and save. Now we're going to move over here to the right, and this is a very important step. Before we make any changes at all, we want to make sure that we are actually in the mobile view, because right now we are in the tablet view. So we want to make sure we're in the mobile view so that any changes that we make will apply to our mobile view. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can click on the view icon over here and select mobile. That will put us in mobile view right away. Or you can make sure that you have that mobile header row layout selected. Move over here to the right and make sure that this mobile icon is highlighted so that all your changes are happening in the mobile view. Okay, so I've made sure that I've selected the mobile view. The first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and change the layout. So this layout is a collapsed layout. This is not the layout that we want. We actually want this layout right over here where we have 2 equal columns on top at 50% and 1 column on the bottom at 100%. Let's go ahead and select that. Okay, now we can see we're halfway there. Next, what we need to do is we need to switch the positions of the logo and the off-canvas trigger, and then we need to align the button to the center. Okay, to be able to do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on the trigger first. I'm going to move over here to the list view, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the trigger down into the next section here. Okay, it's going to share a section with the site identity, but only temporarily. Next, I'm going to select the site identity, and then I'm going to move that into the first section. Okay, so now they have switched sides. And then I'm going to select the section that contains the button, move over here to the right, and we'll go ahead and align this to the center. Okay. Then the other thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that all of these elements are aligned properly now. So first I'm going to select the logo, which is the site identity. And then I'm going to select the section that contains it, move over here to the right, and then go ahead and set the alignment to the left. And then I'm going to select the off-canvas trigger, select the section that contains it, and go ahead and align that to the right. Okay. And then for the button, we're going to leave that exactly the way that it is. Now there's a lot of spacing here between these elements here, so I want to bring that together just a little bit. So I'm going to select the mobile header row, so the container row itself, move over here to the right, and over here where we have the row gutter, I'm going to see what that looks like with just small spacing. Okay, so it's going to bring it together just a little bit. And then what if we did none? Okay, that's a little too close. So let's just have the small spacing, and that should be enough. All right, excellent. So it now looks like we have everything set up. We have our mobile header row set up, and we have our tablet header row set up. There's just one more step that we need to make sure that we do, because both of these are going to show up in the mobile responsive mode. What we want is we want the tablet to only show up when you're looking at this on a tablet, but not show up when you're looking at it on a mobile device like a cell phone, and then vice versa for the mobile header row itself. Okay, so I'm going to select the tablet mobile header row, move over here to the right, go to advanced, and we're going to go to our visibility settings, open that up, and I'm going to set this to be hidden on mobile. Then I'm going to select the mobile header row, move over here to the right, go to advanced, click on visibility settings, and then I'm going to hide this on tablet. Then I'm going to go ahead and save my changes, and then we're going to take a look at this on the front end and see if everything is showing up correctly. Okay, so here we are on the front end. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the screen. We can now see that we have our logo on the left. We have our toggle on the right, and clicking on this toggle will open up our menu perfectly. And then we have our button over here as well. Now, if I take a look at this on a tablet, we have also maintained the layout that we want for our tablet. Okay. And if we just close out of this and take a look at it on desktop, we now have our custom header showing up correctly. And all this is built from a preset. Okay. So with that, you've now seen how you can completely customize the custom header and even customize it granularly just for tablet and for your mobile devices so that you have a good mobile responsive experience here. And of course, you can take this further now that you understand how adding extra blocks or adding the row blocks can allow you to further customize this even more. So very, very flexible and extremely extendable. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and explore the features that are available to you when you install Kadence Blocks Pro for the advanced header block. Now, so far we've been working with the free version of Kadence. So if we go over here to our plugins, you'll see that I only have Kadence Blocks, the free version, activated. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and activate Kadence Blocks Pro extension, and that's going to give us some additional features for the advanced header block, namely the ability to create mega menus and also add icons and other awesome things that you can do with the navigation link block as well. Okay, so now with our Kadence Blocks Pro plugin activated, we're going to go over here to Kadence and we're going to click on headers. We're going to click on add new header or add new Kadence header. And this is going to be a header that's going to contain our mega menu. So we'll call this the custom header for mega menu. So custom header, mega menu, and we'll use the name as a description as well. Click on next. And for this one, we're gonna select a preset header here. So just select one of the templates. All right, and now we have our header in place. Now the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a navigation for this header. Whenever you use a preset header, it does have a navigation placeholder in place, but this isn't a real navigation. This is just a placeholder. So let's go ahead and add a real navigation to this. I'm going to click on the navigation here, and you can see here it's going to immediately ask me to make a selection. If you open up the drop down here, you'll see the navigations you've created in the past. But in this case, I want to create a new one. So I'm going to click on create new. And we'll name this one our navigation with mega menu. Let's go ahead and add our home page to this menu. And I will just change the name here to home. And then I'm going to add some custom links. So let's just add a few custom links so that the navigation looks populated. Now, once you're done adding your custom links, just go ahead and click on done editing. And now we have our navigation. I'm going to move over here to the right and set the horizontal spacing to 1.6 rem. Let's give it some nice space. All right, excellent. And now we are ready. Now, so far we've configured the desktop view. Let's also make sure that our tablet/mobile layout also looks good for this header. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the header. That's going to allow me to access the Visual Builder. Click on the button for the Visual Builder. And here you'll notice we have three tabs. We have the tablet/mobile, and then we have an off-canvas tab. Okay, and the reason we have an off-canvas tab is that if you click on the tablet/mobile, the preset that we selected has a toggle in there. Okay, and that's where the off-canvas trigger comes into play. So this block will allow us to be able to have additional blocks that come out on a canvas. Okay, so the thing we want to do here is we want to access that off canvas. So we just click on this tab right here, and you can see the canvas. Inside of the canvas by default is a placeholder navigation. We want to make sure that we're using the same navigation here as we did in the desktop view, because remember, this is also only a placeholder. So I'm going to click on this navigation here right in the canvas, select the make a selection, and notice that our newly created navigation for the mega menu is not in here. And the reason it's not in here is because we have not saved this header. So I'm going to go ahead and save the header. Click save. Okay. And now that I've saved it and it's updated, I'm going to go to make a selection, and now you'll see your navigation with mega menu. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Click on select, and here's our navigation. Now we need to configure this navigation a little bit. It's actually going horizontal. We want this to have a vertical orientation. So with the navigation selected, move over here to the right, and under the orientation, we're going to change this to vertical. Okay. All right, awesome. The other thing that we want to do is we want our canvas to actually span the full width of the screen for the tablet and the mobile device. So I'm going to go ahead and select that canvas, move over to the right, and under the content width, I'm going to change that from partial to full. Okay. All right. Then the last thing that I want to do is I also want to make sure that there's some separation between the actual menu items here. So I'm going to select the navigation, move over to the right, and make sure that I'm viewing the navigation settings. So just click here. And what I want to do is go to the Style tab and under the Style tab, you'll see the divider settings. Let's go ahead and open that up. And we're going to select a subtle color, and we'll just give it 1 pixel for the divider. Okay, that's going to give us some nice separation here. All right, then the other thing that I want to make sure of is I want to make sure that this looks good on the tablet, but it also looks good on our mobile device as well. So your cell phones and smaller screen devices. So I'm going to click on the icon for the mobile device. Okay, and when I click on that icon, I can see here that this is organizing as a vertical, or excuse me, as a horizontal, in a horizontal way. Okay, so we don't want that. We really want this orientation. Let's go back to general. We want the orientation to still be vertical. Okay. All right, so we've taken care of it on our mobile device. Let's take a look at it on our tablet. So just click on the tablet icon. Still vertical. Excellent. And when we click on it on the desktop, so when we look at it on the desktop, for some reason this has reorganized itself as a vertical menu. We don't want that on desktop. So I'm going to select the menu again, move over here to the right, check out the orientation, and make sure that this is horizontal. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save my work. Okay, so we've configured both the desktop view, and we've also configured the tablet mobile and also set up the off canvas. Now we can take a look at the mega menu. To do that, just go ahead and select any links, any one of the links here. So I'm going to select the services link because that's most likely to have a mega menu attached. When you select the link, now that we have the Kadence Blocks Pro plugin activated, if you look over here to the right, you'll see that there's a toggle for the mega menu. Also in the short menu here, you'll see that there's also an icon for the mega menu as well. Either one of these will trigger a mega menu for you. So let's click on the icon. Once you click on the icon, you're going to see an option to select an initial layout. So you can select columns, or you can choose one of these preset designs. Okay. If you select the columns, you'll see some placeholder navigation to just show you what the mega menu can look like. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and select, let's go ahead and select this services here. When we look over here to the right, once the mega menu is created, if you look over here to the right, you'll see the mega menu width, right? So right now this is at a custom width of 700 pixels, but you can change the width to a full width if you prefer, or content width. Okay. There's also an option for the menu container width, but that just means that you're saying that you want the menu to have the same width as the parent item, which is a little bit too narrow. Okay, so we'll set that back to the content width. Okay, now if you no longer want to have this mega menu, it's very easy to turn off. Just go ahead and toggle off the mega menu. It's going to ask you if you want to delete it. You can go ahead and say OK, and the mega menu is now gone. Okay, if you go to add it back, click on the link where you want it to be added, select the mega menu icon, and then you'll go through this process again. Okay, this time let's go ahead and select a design. I'm going to select this final design over here. Okay. And now from the placeholders, we have even more content. So if we open this up in list view so we can understand what's really going on here, what's happening is that the mega menu consists of a row layout that contains other blocks. What this means for you is that you can technically construct everything here from scratch using blocks, rows, sections, and any blocks that you find necessary inside of this mega menu. So this really gives you a lot of extendability and capability to build out any kind of mega menu with any type of content that you want. So these are just examples, but you can actually build out something very elaborate if you want to. And essentially, if there's a mega menu out there that you like, you can actually replicate it with the advanced header block and the navigation block mega menu capability. Okay. A few extra things that I want to mention here is that you also have some new capabilities for the links, whether it's the parent links here in the navigation or the links here in this mega menu or in these navigation links right here. If you select this, you actually have the option of adding a label. So if you ever want to add a label, just click on the link where you want that label to go. Look over here to the right, go to the Style tab, and you'll see a tab here that says Highlight Label. Open it up, and you can go ahead and add a label. So if you wanted to change this to exciting as an example. Notice that has changed now to whatever you put in here. Okay. The other thing that I also want to point out is that all the menus, so even the links up here, parent links, and also the sub menu links, and also the links here in the mega menu, have the ability to have a description. Okay. So if we go back here, if we select this link and we go to the General tab, you'll see here that there's a space for you to go ahead and add a description next to your links. And then the final thing that I want to point out is that under the Style tab, again, for every link, you also have the ability to add an icon or some kind of media. Okay. To be able to do that, I'm going to go ahead and close this. To be able to do that, just click on media, select the media type that you want. In this case, let's select icon. And you'll notice now that we have an icon next to it over here. Okay. And then lastly, we have description styles. So you can actually style your description. For instance, you can align it with the icon or align it with the title. You can control the spacing, the color, and the typography settings. Okay. All right. So now that we've seen the mega menu in action, let's also see how it handles itself from a mobile responsive perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and close out our list view here so we can see everything clearly. All right, let's open up our mega menu. So this is how it looks in our desktop view. Let's take a look at it on the tablet view. So if we go to the tablet, you're not going to see it right away. However, the off canvas tab over here will show us what it looks like once you hit that toggle. If we click on services, we can see that the mega menu styles pretty nicely. Okay. To get a better idea, to make sure that this actually looks correct, let's also take a look at it on the front end. So I'm going to go over here and save the work. And now we're going to go look at it on the front end. So open this up in a new tab. Go to the front end of the website. Go to Customize. Header. We're going to change the header block to our custom header mega menu. Let's publish that, close it, and let's look at the services. Okay, so it looks great on desktop. Let's right click on the page, click on inspect to open up the Chrome developer tool, and we can look at it first on a tablet. Click the toggle, open this up, and we see that it looks pretty good on tablet. Of course, we can do some more with the spacing here, but out of the box, it looks great. Okay, now let's take a look at it on a cell phone, like the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And we can see here it collapses very nicely. Okay, and that's because it's using blocks and rows to build it out here. So everything looks great. We can collapse that and open it up. So technically you can have a mega menu under each menu item here. All right. Okay, there is one last thing that we want to take a look at, and then we will wrap up this tutorial, and that is the additional block that came along with all the other blocks. So remember, we had the advanced header block with the navigation block, and then the navigation links. We also had the site identity block. You also got a chance to take a look at the off-canvas trigger block. But the one last block that we didn't cover, and we're going to cover right now, is going to be the Kadence search block. And the Kadence search block is a new block, and that you can use in your custom headers. You can also use it in your pages or your sidebars. But let's go ahead and take a look at it right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and navigate back to the dashboard, and we're going to go to our Kadence link here, go to headers. Now, the advanced search block from Kadence does not have to be included in a header. You could include it in a page or anywhere you want, but for this example, we're just going to include it in the header. So I'm going to come over here to our custom header for the mega menu, and we're going to click on edit, and I'm going to modify this header slightly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this button here from a double button, and we'll make this a single button to allow for more spacing here. So I'm going to select the secondary button here, click on the vertical ellipsis in the short menu, and delete. Okay, so we only have the one button now. Okay, next I'm going to open up the Visual Builder, and we're going to click on the plus sign inside of the button area here, and we're going to search for the search block from Kadence. Now, I see it here already, but if you're not seeing it, just do a search here and you will see it. Let's go ahead and click on it. And now we can see the search field. Okay. So this search field, if we click on the cogwheel, we'll see all the settings. If you look over here on the right-hand side, you'll see the settings. It has general, styling, and advanced. Under the general tab, you'll see the search style as standard by default, but you can also have it be a modal. So standard means that it's just going to be static on the page. You'll do your search and then your search results will show up on the search page. Modal means that it will become a pop-out, right? So if you change it to modal, the first thing that will happen is it will change the search field into a button that says search. And when people click on this search, you can click here to see the modal, it will turn into this modal. And then you would conduct your search inside of this field over here, okay? Now, my preference is actually to not have it be this way. I would much rather have the standard so that I can have the field. And when you have the field, then you can then customize this. Now, you can also choose to have a button next to the field here. So we can toggle this on to show the submit button. But again, I just think it's too many elements. There are some cases where this would make more sense. But for the header, I wouldn't do it this way. So, but you have the option to. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle this off. Okay. The next tab is the style tab. So under the style tab, you can select the type of icon that you want inside of the search. You can style the line width, the icon color, and the input style. So this is the input, and you can go ahead and customize the input here. The font sizing, the background type, the input background, box shadow, and border. You can also control the border radius. So if you wanted this to be like a pill, we can go ahead and unify the sides here and add 50 pixels, and now it looks like a pill. The other thing you can do is you can add placeholder text. So we can say search here, ... Okay. Also, you can control the input spacing. So if you think this is too tall or too wide, you can control the spacing of the input over here as well. So I can say maybe I would like there to be less spacing on the top there and less spacing on the bottom. Okay, we can add a little bit back in. All right. Okay, and then you can also customize this even further. So if it's still too tall for you, maybe we can set this to 4 pixels on the bottom, 4 pixels on the top. Okay. All right. And then under the advanced here, you have padding for the entire search block itself and margin. And then, of course, your CSS classes and your HTML anchor can also be placed there as well. To reduce the clutter here, I'm going to go ahead and move my navigation over to just over one section here. And let's place the site identity where it's supposed to be, which is first. Okay. And select the navigation here. We're going to reduce this to, let's just make this 0.5 because it's already some spacing here. All right. So now this is our search. Let's go ahead and click on save. And then let's view it on the front end of the website. Let's go ahead and refresh. All right. So we can see our search field is now here. So this is the new block from Kadence. So if I click here and I do a search for blocks, it takes me right to the search page. The other thing that I want to point out is that because this website, this is just a plain website. So one of the features for the search block here is that it also allows you to search products only if this were a e-commerce website. So if you had e-commerce installed or WooCommerce installed, you would be able to search products. Let me show you an example of this. So I've actually created one on an e-commerce site. Okay, so here it is right here. And if you want to see the option, so if we look over, let's actually go back. Let me go back here. So if I select this block and go to the general settings, see here it only has the show submit button. And that's because I don't have any e-commerce installed on this particular site. But on this other site here, I actually do have e-commerce installed. Let's close this out. And if I select the search block over here, and let's open up our block settings. So if I select the search block over here, notice that now it has a toggle to search products only. So if you have WooCommerce installed and you want to create a search that only searches products, then the Kadence search block is exactly what you need to be able to do that. Okay. All right. And with that, that will conclude this video on the 5 new blocks that have been added to the Kadence Blocks plugin and Kadence Blocks Pro. I hope you guys enjoyed the walkthrough of the advanced header block and also the navigation block, the navigation link block. And then you also got a chance to see the new site identity block and also the search block as well. And so Kadence is doing a fantastic job of releasing great tools and great blocks that help you build more dynamic and effective websites using WordPress and Gutenberg, and I appreciate them for that. I also appreciate you and for supporting my channel by watching the channel and subscribing to the channel. Hey, if you are new to the channel and you enjoy detailed WordPress and Kadence tutorials, then I'd like to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and remember to hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time I release new videos like this. Once again, I want to say thank you very much for your support. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that like button and share it with a friend. Also, leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know what your thoughts are. Also, let me know if you have any questions or if there's a topic that you would like me to cover in my future videos. Okay, until next time, I'll see you in the next video.